Hello and welcome back to the Garifuna Experience podcast. I'm your host, José Francisco Ávila, and today, in honor of International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, we are exploring the rich history and vibrant culture of the Garifuna people. We are a living Afro-Indigenous treasure, a testament to resilience and a proud blend of African and Amerindian heritage. The Garifuna are a unique mixture of African, Arawak, and Kalinago origins, resulting from a process that took place in the West Indian Islands but ended up being transplanted to Central America. Because it was on the West Indian island of St. Vincent that the Garifuna came into existence as an identifiable group, the Garifuna people consider themselves and are generally acknowledged indigenous to the circum-Caribbean region. The Garifuna are a culturally distinct Afro-Indigenous group spread across Central America in Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Our story begins with our ancestors, a mixture of shipwrecked enslaved Africans, Arawaks, and the Kalinago, the indigenous people of the island of St. Vincent. This unique blend led to the adoption of many indigenous practices, including the Amerindian Arawakan language, manioc or cassava cultivation techniques, and a collective ancestral land tenure system. A history of survival and resistance. Our ancestors were in the Caribbean long before Columbus. By tracing our blood ties to the Arawaks and Kalinagos of the Lesser Antilles, we confirm our deep indigenous roots. We are a people who survived the brutal realities of European colonization and the transatlantic slave trade. We escaped the slavery that both Amerindians and Africans were subjected to, not just by fleeing, but by living our culture. Our staple food, cassava bread, or ereba, is a powerful symbol of this survival. It's a food we've shared for generations. According to the French missionaries who first met them, Yurumein, meaning spirit of the rainbow, was the name given by the Amerindians to St. Vincent. Formation of a new people in the Caribbean, Black Kalinago or Black Caribs. To truly understand the Garifuna, we must go back to the beginning. Our story starts with the Arawak people, one of the indigenous groups of the West Indies. They were the first people Christopher Columbus encountered when he arrived in the Americas in 1492. They were farmers, hunters, and fishermen. Later, the Kalinago, a group of fishermen and skilled warriors, followed a similar path, moving into the Caribbean. The European presence in the Caribbean, beginning with Columbus, ushered in a new era of colonization and the establishment of sugar plantations. This led to the importation of enslaved people from Africa to work the fields, creating the economic triangle between Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean. The origins of the Africans who joined the Arawaks and Kalinago on St. Vincent are debated, but research verified two sources of the arrival of the Africans to St. Vincent. First, enslaved peoples from nearby islands, primarily Barbados, came at different times and routes. Second, captives from raids on the nearby island by the Kalinago themselves, who absorbed them into their society. The island's thickly wooded and mountainous environment was an escape route from enslavement, and the flow of runaway enslaved Africans to St. Vincent was continuous. They quickly adopted the indigenous way of life and intermarried with yellow Kalinago or Arawak or red Kalinago women. This union gave rise to a new group of people known as the Black Caribs by the Europeans to distinguish them from the red or yellow Kalinago. Struggle for land and identity. As the population of Black Caribs grew, they began to compete with the yellow Caribs for land and power. This led to division of the island, with the black Caribs claiming the eastern half, which became known as the Carib country. The British, however, viewed the black Caribs as African colonists or Maroons, not as indigenous people. In contrast, the black Caribs saw themselves as an indigenous part of the overall Carib nation, an identity which rooted their history outside the context of the plantation. Ironically, some enslaved people of British settlers even fought alongside their masters against the black Caribs, having been influenced by their masters' view and fearing what they saw as a dangerous primitive people. The conflict culminated on March 11, 1797, when 2,248 of the darker-skinned Garifuna people were loaded onto 10 British ships. The ensuing 33-day voyage across the Caribbean resulted in the death of 222 individuals. On April 12, 1797, 2,026 Garifuna people disembarked on the island of Roatan off the coast of Honduras. From there, they migrated to the Atlantic coast of Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, creating the communities you find today. The lighter-skinned Caribs were sent back to St. Vincent and subjected to British laws that prohibited them from speaking the Garifuna language or practicing their tradition. National recognition and challenges. The struggle for recognition continued throughout the colonial period and remains a key issue today. Since the 1970s, the Garifuna have mobilized alongside indigenous movements advocating for the adoption of the International Labor Organization Indigenous and Tribal Peoples Convention, 1989, number 169. Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua have ratified it. Today, Garifuna people are recognized as an ethnic group in Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. It was in 1995 that Guatemala took a crucial step by granting the Garifuna people indigenous status under the Agreement on Identity and Rights of Indigenous People. Honduras' ratification of the International Labor Organization's Indigenous and Tribal Peoples Convention number 169 in 1995 granted the Garifuna people official indigenous status within the country, at least in a legal sense. While international conventions recognize the Garifuna people as indigenous, the Honduran government has historically disputed their status. Garifuna organizations like OFRANEH, the Black Fraternal Organization of Honduras, continue to fight for legal recognition and enforcement of their land rights. In 1997, the Central American Black Organization presented the Garifuna language policy of the Garifuna Nation. According to the statement, as an indigenous people, the Garifuna Nation has basic rights to autonomy and self-determination and the right to maintain and preserve the Garifuna language and culture. Belize, the rights of the Garifuna people were recognized in Belize by the government in 1999. Recently, the National Garifuna Council of Belize took a major step in its ongoing work with the government of Belize by submitting a revised Memorandum of Understanding to the Ministry of Indigenous Affairs. The proposed Memorandum of Understanding builds upon the previous document signed with the government in 1999. The Council's aim is to see policy and legislation passed that will secure the rights of the Kalinago as one of the indigenous peoples of Belize. The proposed Memorandum of Understanding builds upon the previous document signed with the government in 1999. The Council's aim is to see policy and legislation passed that will secure the rights of the Kalinago people as one of the indigenous peoples in Belize. Belize is not a signatory to the International Labor Organization Convention 169. While the government has not ratified the convention, the principles regarding the rights of indigenous peoples, such as the Maya and Garifuna, are addressed through domestic efforts and agreements. One example is the 10-point agreement with the Mayas in the Toledo district, signed on October 12, 2000. It was a non-binding partnership agreement intended to recognize Maya rights to traditional lands. The agreement became a significant legal landmark in the decade-long struggle for Maya land rights in Belize and laid the groundwork for future legal battles that resulted in definitive court rulings in favor of the Maya. Ultimately, the 10-point agreement was largely a promise that went unfulfilled. The government took few concrete steps to implement the commitments, prompting Maya leaders to continue their legal challenges. While not implemented, the agreement proved critical for the Mayas' legal victories in subsequent years. The explicit government recognition of Maya rights in 2000 became a foundational element in a series of court cases, culminating in the historic 2015 consent order by the Caribbean Court of Justice. This ruling affirmed that Maya customary land tenure constitute a form of property protected by the Belize Constitution. The court ordered the government to take affirmative steps to identify, protect, and title the Maya's customary land. The Toledo Maya Land Rights Commission was established to help implement the court's ruling, which is still an ongoing process. The importance of indigenous status. For the Garifuna, their indigenous identity is crucial for protecting their ancestral land and unique culture. It provides a legal framework for protecting land rights. Indigenous status strengthens their claims to traditional territories and resources, particularly coastal areas coveted by tourism and development interests. Preserving culture. As an Afro-Indigenous people with a unique language and traditions, indigenous status helps preserve their heritage, which has been threatened by assimilation and migration. Combating violence and discrimination. Affirming their indigenous identity has helped the Garifuna draw international attention to the targeted violence, human rights abuses, and persecution they face for defending their land. Ethno-education, preserving our culture for the future. A vital part of this struggle is the preservation of our language and culture through education. The region has made important, if uneven, progress in this area. Guatemala has passed several anti-discrimination laws for education and in 2003 declared Garifuna an official language. The country has also worked to institutionalize intercultural bilingual education. Nicaragua's General Law of Education, 2006, established the Regional Autonomous Education System, which manages intercultural bilingual education programs and supports capacity building for Afro-descendant teachers. Honduras' Fundamental Law of Education, 2011, allows for school curricula to incorporate the linguistic, cultural, and historical characteristic of each region. Belize, in 2024, Belize officially launched a collaborative Garifuna language in schools program to revitalize the endangered language by integrating it into the primary school curriculum. Led by the National Garifuna Council and Battle of the Drums Secretariat, the program involves teaching the language in selected Garifuna communities in southern Belize, supported by a developed Garifuna language curriculum and a professional development plan for teachers. The initiative aims to preserve the Garifuna people's cultural identity and traditions for future generations. These are critical steps in ensuring that the Garifuna language and traditions are passed down to future generations. And that wraps up another illuminating episode of the Garifuna Experience podcast. Thank you for joining me in this journey in honor of International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. exploring the rich history and vibrant culture of the Garifuna people. We are a living Afro-Indigenous treasure, a testament to resilience and a proud land of African and Amerindian heritage. Remember, the future of the Garifuna people is in our hands, and we are driving power, prosperity, and progress. Until next time, stay united, stay proud, Sungube Lida Aba. Ayo. Thank you for listening. Find new episodes of the Garifuna Experience podcast every Tuesday. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Garifuna Experience podcast. Your support helps us share our vital Garifuna experience with more people around the world.